To the regular meeting of the Putnam County Legislature of July 5th, 2023. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I call on Legislator Goldman for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. At this time, I recognize Legislator Sage for the legislative prayer.
We seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality.
Amen. Roll call, please.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery.
Here.
District 2, Legislator Goldman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adnizio.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Nasarino. District 5, Legislator Elner.
Here.
District 7, Legislator Castellano.
Present.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 6, Chairman Yonke.
Present. At this time, we're going to do our proclamations. I'd like to call up the sheriff, members of his department, the BCI, for proclamations. I'm happy tonight to recognize some distinguished members of our Sheriff's Department. The BCI, there was a rape in Putnam Valley on July 6, 2022. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation received a report of a sexual assault from the Westchester County Medical Center that occurred in Putnam County. 2 females had reported that they had been sexually assaulted the prior evening in the town of Putnam Valley. Interviews were conducted and 3 suspects were developed. 1 suspect was tracked to Boston, Massachusetts, where he was arrested and charged with rape in the 1st degree. The 2nd suspect was arrested in Putnam Valley. The 3rd suspect was tracked to Mexico, where he has fled, and a warrant has been filed for his arrest. The investigation was led by Captain Shepperly, Captain Alfano, along with Senior Investigator Corinne Pitt. The attention to detail, coordination of multiple agencies, and the supervision of Senior Investigator Pitt led to a coordinated effort to identify the suspects and effect the arrest of one of the individuals in this case. I'd like to give that.
Thank you, sir.
Sheriff, congratulations, Sheriff. If you'd like to say a few words.
We're just very proud of the work that our members do, and this is just but one of the highlights that they've been able to perform in the last year. So congratulations and thank you.
Hello everybody, I'll say a few words. So here we are, very appreciative for the recognition on behalf of all the women and men of the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. It is nice to be recognized. This was a great case. We all worked together from the patrol level, narcotics, every aspect of our department worked very hard on this case and all cases that we work. And also thank you to our outside resources, the Putnam County Women's Center, for they were, essential partners in this case as well. So thank you very much.
Just to reflect the same thing, just on behalf of everybody in BCI, I just want to thank the legislators for the award on behalf of all their hard work. So thank you.
And now I'd like to recognize Deputies Robert Weinberg and Ashley Picaris. With tenures of 3 years and 2.5 years, Deputies Weinberg and Picaris are now being recognized for their outstanding efforts in overall protective law enforcement. These deputies have identified and arrested numerous impaired and intoxicated drivers, as well as others committing crimes. Together in the year 2022, they collectively issued 600 uniform traffic summonses, overwhelmingly focused on those actions identified as aggressive driving offenses. Both members are field training officers who are relied upon to instruct, guide, and mentor incoming recruits with values to serve and protect at high levels while treating the public with respect and professionalism. That's for you. That's for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your hard work.
Just to point out the importance of this, Deputy Weinberg won a statewide award from the Stop DWI program in Mothers Against Drunk Driving. He was one of the top 15 in New York State making DWI arrests to keep this county safe and to keep your ability to travel safely on the roadways secure. So thank you both.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your support, and thank you to the sheriff and everyone in the department. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank the legislatures for the award, you know, the proclamation. It's nice to see that our work doesn't go unnoticed by you guys and, of course, the community as well. So, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call on, what do I have for 4-H? The Legislative Crowley for the Putnam County 4-H Showcase Week.
Stephanie? Oh, come on up, guys.
Come on up, it's your time to shine. Come on up, kids.
Thank you for coming. Whereas the Putnam 4-H Showcase, sponsored by Cornell Cooperative Extension of Putnam County, is celebrating its second year. And whereas the Putnam County 4-H Showcase showcases for the many interests and accomplishments of Putnam's children, adults, and programs, and continues to grow as an educational, cultural, and fun event that provides a wholesome experience for families and from Putnam and the surrounding region. The Putnam County 4-H Showcases delights visitors throughout the weekend with activities at the Cornell Cooperative Extension Expo Barn. Local artists, craftsmen, tents, touch-a-truck, crafts, face painting, livestock, poultry barn, inflatable activities, food trucks, a duck derby, and more. Now, therefore, be it that resolved that the week of July 24th through the 29th will be designated Putnam County 4-H Showcase Week, and be it further resolved that the Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature recognize and congratulate the second annual 4-H Showcase and invite all Putnam County residents to attend. Thank you, Stephanie, for your hard work.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for all that you do. We appreciate you.
You guys to hold that.
With that, take a picture.
Legislator Crowley, you can step in too. Beautiful, thank you.
Do you want to get on? Take one here. You guys want to say anything?
Yeah, I just want to again thank the County of Putnam and the Putnam County Legislature for recognizing the 4-H youth. They do so much for our community, and they will be our leaders of tomorrow, so it's really excellent that you continue to support Cornell and our 4-H youth. So thank you very much. And don't forget to come to the fair or the fest on July 29th and 30th.
At this time, I recognize Legislator Agnesio for the pretrial probation parole supervision week.
Is he here? John Osterhout?
Outside. Oh, he's outside. Go get him. Can you just ask him to text?
Our Director of Probation here? John here? can read it. We're going to pass up the proclamation for Judy Schoen and Laura Spolino. We're going to put off to another date. We'll give it just a second.
Okay.
You can get up and read it. Go ahead and read it.
Give him a minute to come, or I'll start without him. Pre-trial probation parole supervision week, July 16th to the 22nd. Whereas community corrections is an essential part of the justice system, and whereas community corrections professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas community corrections professionals are responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community. Community corrections professionals are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for offenders. I started without, it's fine. I started without you. Is that okay?
Thank you. I was stuck outside.
Okay. Community corrections professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups. Community corrections professionals promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy. Whereas community corrections professionals provide services, support, and protection for victims, corrections professionals advocate community and restorative justice. Professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature do hereby proclaim the week of July 16th to the 22nd as pre-trial probation parole supervision week, and encourage all Putnam County residents to honor these community corrections professionals and to recognize their achievements. I want to thank you for everything you do for our county.
Sure. I'd like to thank the county executive and the legislature for proclaiming Probation and Parole and Supervision Officers Week. Probation is an organization that kind of works behind the scenes a lot of times. We don't get the publicity that the police do when they make arrests, or that the district attorney does when he successfully prosecutes a case, but we maintain the cases months, years down the road after that, working with offenders to try to help change their lives and to keep the community safe. And so I appreciate the time that you took to acknowledge us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is acceptance of minutes. Item number 5 is correspondence from the county auditor. There was no activity in this period. Item number 6 is pre-filed resolutions. Item 6A is approval of the 2024 decentralized budget review process for preparation and adoption of the 2024 county budget. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. At this time, I'd recognize Chairman Goulman of the Physical Services Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Young. On behalf of the members of the Physical Services Committee, legislators Castellano and Montgomery, make a motion to move the following items. Item number 6B, approval budgetary amendment 23A033 for the Planning Department Additional Unified Planning Work Program, funding under the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. This is for $75,828 for an intersection planning and feasibility study with no fiscal impact for this year or for next year.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Item number 6C, approval budgetary amendment 23A034 for the Planning Department Additional Unified Planning Work Program, funding under the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. This is for $125,000 for a complete streets initiative. This will have no fiscal impact for this year and for next year.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 6D, approval for a secret determination, type 2, for the cantina at Tilly Foster Farm. This is for a 2,500 square foot wood frame structure to be used for the office space for the classroom instruction for Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Discussion.
I was able to visit again the cantina building, as we call it, with the State Assemblywoman, Assemblywoman Levenberg. And, you know, there was some question about, as we all had, about demolishing that building. And having been in there for quite some time in this meeting, it was clear that we're doing the right thing here. And I am so looking forward to Cornell Cooperative being housed there. It's my wish for the farm. It's the perfect use. It's in line with the Watershed Council's covenants that they have with the property, and I'm glad to see that it being used for you know, somewhat public organization and not being used for you know, rock concerts and things like that, or, you know, being in the wedding business or the bar business, which we have no business being in. So I'm really happy that it's going to be used for actual farming.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 6E, approval, inclusion of parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District. In April 2023, the Putnam County Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board received 2 petitions applications for inclusion into the Putnam County Agricultural District. The 2 petitions were reviewed by members of the PCAFPB, and site visits were included during the month of May of 2023. The PCAFPB held a meeting on May 31st, 2023 that discussed the petitions and subsequently voted on the parcels with 9 voting members present. The following are the recommendations. Number 1, Town of Southeast, Barn Dog LLC, applied for inclusion as a horse boarding operation, which would include barn construction with 43 stalls. The PCAFPB voted 8 nay, 0 yes, and 1 abstention. Their decision was to not recommend this parcel for inclusion in 2023. Item number 2, Town of Putnam Valley, Hollister Hills Farms, applied for inclusion as an alpaca and chicken farm with the future plan for hydroponics vegetable production and firewood production. The PCAFPB voted 5 nay and 4 yes. The decision was to not recommend this parcel for inclusion in the 2023. That's it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval, ratification of applications submitted for the grant funding available through the 2023 Consolidated Funding Application Program, aimed to increase local economic development and encourage growth in Putnam County. The proposed projects are Putnam County Salt Storage Facility at 841 Fair Street here in Carmel. Putnam County Historic Courthouse, the building we're in right now. The column restoration, which is right outside, 40 Goneida Avenue, Carmel, New York. The Fire Training Center at 192 Gypsy Trail Road in Carmel, New York. The Golf Course Maintenance and Cart Storage Facility at 187 Hill Street in Mahopac, New York. Putnam County Trail Maintenance in Mahopac, New York. Dam Improvement Project, which is in the South Lake Dams in Kent, New York. Strategic plan for county-owned buildings, various locations throughout Putnam County. That's it.
Discussion.
Chair. as I pointed out during committee, I would have preferred to see these, items separated. You know, we have this habit of lumping in things into one resolution, and it doesn't really give us a good democratic process in identifying. But as we understand, there will come a time where we will vote on these separately when the funding is actually allocated. This is just to apply for grant funding. I'm not in favor of seeing $1.5 million go to the golf course maintenance and golf storage, cart storage. We've invested enough in this property, and our county employees deserve a better place to work. So when it comes to that point, for that vote, I'd certainly be voting no, but I am in favor of applying for the grant. I'm happy that we can vote on that separately in the future.
Any other discussion?
Chair.
Yes.
Just to be clear, these are proposed projects that might possibly receive CFA funding. There are a few of these that they said they might not include, but this is just the approval to apply for the CFA funding. It's not actually inclusive of all of these projects.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next items are from the Personnel Committee. On behalf of myself, legislators Castellano and Nasarino, I'd like to move forward with item 9G. It's my honor tonight to move forward the approval of the confirmation and appointment of our new Commissioner of Finance, Michael J. Lewis. Michael went through a, we're going to get there. Michael went through a vetting process. Michael has worked with us for the last few years. He has big shoes to fill, literally, with Bill Carlin retiring. It's my honor to move this forward. We have Michael here. Any discussion from the legislature?
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Thank you, Chairman. I've known Michael now for a couple of years. He's been working for Putnam County, and I'm really proud to have somebody from within Putnam County to take over this responsibility. As the chairman of Audit, I got a chance to sit in on the interview process. We had a number of really good qualified candidates that we met with, but I'm happy to say that Mr. Lewis really rose above all of them, and he's going to do a fantastic job for us here in Putnam County. I'm really looking forward to working with him in the future.
Legislator Crowley.
As a new legislator, he has made himself accessible to every question I have. I have been very appreciative of his knowledge and his extensive research when it comes to anything I bring across his desk, so I'm excited to work with him. I like his new way of doing things, and I am very excited to have you on board as the commissioner, so thank you so much.
Legislator Andizio.
Thank you. It's an honor to confirm Michael. His qualifications are outstanding, and say congratulations.
Legislator Sage.
I'll just reiterate the same. His previous background as an auditor, his previous experience in government, and his expertise in accounting, and also being open and transparent with the legislature. And I couldn't agree more. I would very much like to approve as our Commissioner of Finance, Mr. Lewis.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, anybody from the public who has taken a look at the county budget will know that finance science is rocket science, and I am so thrilled to approve Michael's appointment because he's made it so much more accessible and easy, and I think it's going to be great for the public to have Michael as Commissioner of Finance. So welcome, and I'm so glad you brought your children here tonight.
Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Michael Lewis is a wonderful choice for Commissioner. Congratulations. And you have wonderful children. You should be proud of your father.
Legislator Elner.
I've had the pleasure of working with Michael on a few things, and he's excellent, he's thorough, he's efficient, and he's going to be an asset to Putnam County.
Michael, welcome to you and your family. Thank you for being here with us tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Michael. We're going to move on to item 6H, which is the approval of a confirmation. Also very proud to move forward the appointment of our Director of Real Property Tax Services, Patricia McLaughlin. Trish interviewed with us a few weeks back. I was on the phone for the interview. I know of her past, her background in the appraisal world. She has an appraisal business, and she shined in her interview, and gives me great pleasure to move that forward. So, discussion. Legislator Sage.
I'd just like to say that Patricia McLaughlin has come highly recommended. I have several relatives in the real estate industry, lawyers, and she has an impeccable reputation and a lot of great experience, and I think she'd be a great asset to Putnam County.
Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. I believe Patricia McLaughlin is a wonderful choice to be the Director of Real Property Tax Services, and congratulations and welcome aboard.
Legislator Montgomery.
I'm happy to approve this appointment. Welcome, Patricia. I'm looking forward to a long relationship.
Trish, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for bringing your husband, Ned. Welcome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. We're going to move forward with item 6I, which is the approval of a policy for service animals. This is just setting forth a policy as far as compliance with the American Disabilities Act. Discussion. Yes, Legislator Montgomery.
This new policy is going to prohibit anyone from bringing their animal unless it's a certified dog. I understand, we had an issue with one employee in particular. I understand we need a policy. This policy prohibits anybody. Nobody can bring their dog to visit their colleagues. We do fund the SPCA, the Humane Society. We have a long history of taking care of animals, and I think this policy is just way too prohibitive. We all know the benefit in mental health that animals give, whether they're certified or not certified, and I think it leaves it to no discretion, and I think there should be some discretion for department heads, people in the buildings, and I think it's just way too restrictive and prohibitive. We are a dog-friendly county. Anywhere you go in other states, all over the world, they're way more dog-friendly, and I think, we as humans can do the same, and I'll be voting no on this.
Any other discussion? Legislator Crowley.
I think we do need some discretions when it comes to this. There was a emotional support guinea pig in the health department at one point, and I think that causes some issues with health and safety, and I don't think that's appropriate. Emotional support animals I am all for, but I do think that we need to have some restrictions when it comes to what kind of animals we're bringing in as emotional support animals. So I just think that's some food for thought.
Thank you. Just to point out, lots of people who can't get dogs and whose kids want an animal, they do get them guinea pigs as an emotional support and a way of showing them how to have a pet. And guinea pigs are great too.
Legislator Sage.
Yeah, this policy was well researched by our personnel department. They took into consideration our being with the Americans with Disabilities Act. We can't discriminate against individuals with disabilities and must permit a service animal in all areas of the facility. I think it's just being clear as to where animals are requested and required and where they are not. And it's just limited to the Americans with Disabilities Act. You can't just say I need a the dog to get through the job, you have to actually provide documentation. I think it's imperative that we have guidelines in place to protect all of our employees, whether they want to carry a dog with them or not, or a ferret or not. So I'll be supporting this.
Legislative Castellano.
Yeah, I think it's only fair to have actually a policy in place. I know I oversee, I'm a day job, 25 people, and we do need a policy if anybody wanted to bring in. I'm sure, good judgment will come into play, the employees will do the right thing, and somebody will make a good common sense decision, but there should be a policy to fall back on. I know I work in the courthouse down there, we do see emotional support animals come in from time to time, and I can assure you I lose half my staff as soon as one of these puppies come in here. And I appreciate what they do, and I appreciate everything, but there should be a policy for the supervisors and the employees alike.
Can I clarify?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm sure puppies are not certified.
Well, I'm saying
ADA dogs. And just to be clear, this policy would prohibit the SPCA, the Humane Society, from even hosting an event in a county building to bring the animals to showcase. So it doesn't allow for any of that. Just clarifying that. This is strictly for people with disabilities, so there will be no more showcasing animals, bringing out animals by for anyone.
As someone with a member of the family who is disabled and who has a service animal, I understand the need for service animals, and especially complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Our county facilities are places of business, and they should be treated that way. With that, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Adnizio.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goulman.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
No.
Legislator Nasarino. Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Yaki.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6J is the approval of a policy for public facilities access. Any discussion?
So just to clarify for the public what this means that the public will no longer be able to freely use their camera or videotape. It will be determined by the individual department head or staff member of what is considered private and what is considered public in county buildings. Is that correct?
This is to protect the privacy of our residents, in that when people visit our facilities, that they can't get behind a desk and freely videotape computer screens or paperwork that may be on somebody's desk. So this policy would restrict the release of private information. Any other discussion? Legislator Sage.
It also defines a public access area. It defines a designated public access area. It defines non-public access areas where people are doing their jobs where they don't need a recording device in their face. And I think it's also another important to have a policy in place to see exactly what to expect. I think that's the importance of policies, is to know what to expect. I will support this.
Any other discussion before I recognize Legislator Montgomery?
Now that I clarified what it actually is for the public, I'd like to make a comment that I believe in a time where access to county government is currently very limited, I believe this policy is again overreaching. It doesn't really define, it leaves it up to the interpretation of the individual department head or the staff member of where and when public access is. So that is going to change, I'm sure, as department heads change, as individuals change. I think it is doing more again to limit the public's access to their government. I think it's overreaching. I think we can safely, with the staff we have on hand, handle when we need to bring the public into a private room. I don't believe anybody's going to muscle their way into a private office, and if they do, then the authorities need to be called anyway. So this again is taking away access for the public to public buildings and government.
I disagree with Legislator Montgomery, and just for the public, let me read part of the resolution. It resolved that in all areas, employees shall make every reasonable effort to safeguard private and/or confidential information, and be it further resolved that employees shall allow the peaceful photography or recording of designated public areas during the hours such space is open to the public. Loud, disruptive, and/or threatening behavior will not be tolerated. Visitors that are disrupting the administration of county government will be respectfully asked to leave or alter their behavior. Resolved that any person threatening county employees or any other members of the public will be asked to vacate the premises. In the event that a visitor is loud, disruptive, or threatening and will not vacate the premises when asked, law enforcement will be called. That's what we're talking about, all right? And it's kind of common sense, plain language right here. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
If I may,
We'll
through the
call for a
chair.
roll call vote.
I have a comment to make to clarify your
We'll call for a
statement.
vote.
To clarify your insult.
You've spoken twice. We're
So
gonna vote.
this is a meeting. This is what we do in meetings before a vote. We talk, we deliberate. That's what public meetings are about.
You had your chance to comment twice.
I'm asking for a third chance to
I
comment.
called
We don't
for
have
the-
any
I
rules.
called for the vote.
We don't have
You know how the
rules
rules
that
work.
limit.
You
We don't have
keep
rules
talking
that
about the rules.
limit comments. And by the way, you did not.
Legislator Addonizio.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elner.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
No.
Legislator Nasarino. Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Yaki.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, I call on Legislator Sage of the Protective Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Yaki. On behalf of Chairwoman Nazarino, Legislator Addonizio, and myself, I would like to bring forward the following items for approval. Item 6K calls for the approval of a budgetary amendment 23A-032 for the Legal Aid Society and Indigent Legal Services in the amount of $250,000, which is incoming money to go to the Legal Aid Society for the year 2023. There's no fiscal impact. This is part of a 3-year grant totaling $750,000.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to item 6L. This is an approval for budgetary amendment 23A-037 for the Sheriff's Department for a state and municipal SAM grant program. This is a grant in the amount of $50,000 obtained through the Office of Senator James Skoufis and will be used to purchase equipment including a license plate reader, crime scene camera system, computers, printer, copier, scanner, and an alarm enhancement at the Phillipstown substation. There are no matching funds required for this grant. There is no fiscal impact.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to item 6M. Do we need to make an amendment, I believe?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the revised resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6M is an approval for a fund transfer for the Sheriff's Department for a comp payout. We are working within budget lines here to make the appropriate required comp payout requests in the amount of $65,000. We are moving money from the Sheriff's admin overtime, Sheriff's Patrol accident reconstruction overtime, Sheriff's Patrol weight enforcement overtime, Sheriff's Patrol overtime in the amount of $65,000. There is no fiscal impact.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
At this time, I call on Chairwoman Addonizio of the Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Yonke. On behalf of myself, legislators Elner and Goulman, I move 6N forward, which is the approval of a local law to amend the code of Putnam County by adding a new chapter 170 entitled Homeless Shelters. Purpose, the county has a critical interest in maintaining the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. As such, it has fallen on the county to take steps to ensure that neither external municipalities nor local businesses attempt to subvert state law and threaten the orderly functioning of this county by improperly operating a homeless shelter without appropriate government authority or resources to care for those in need. Putnam County may legislate such matters under the authority granted to it by municipal home rule law, which allows it to adopt and amend local laws related to the government, protection, order, conduct, safety, health, and well-being of persons or property therein. Definitions. Homeless shelter is any building or physical location that provides overnight sleeping accommodations and is substantially intending to provide such accommodations to the homeless in general or for specific populations of the homeless. Temporary housing shall include any facility maintained primarily for overnight occupancy by persons who are provided at least some part or portion of the use of the facilities, including but not limited to hotels, motels, camping units, or other rental properties. The shared services agreement required that no municipality outside of Putnam County or agent thereof may offer or provide temporary housing within Putnam County, thereby creating a homeless shelter as defined above without first entering into a shared services agreement with Putnam County to provide said services. Section 2, this local law shall take effect immediately upon its filing with the New York State Secretary of State. I don't feel that any municipality should have the authority to dictate what goes on in our county. We don't have the resources, infrastructure, or capacity to provide shelter for New York City homeless right here in Putnam County. The county executive is just simply asking that any outside municipality should enter into a shared services agreement before providing any temporary housing.
Discussion. Yes, Legislative
I have a
Crowell.
comment. I have a comment. With this being a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions, Putnam County does not have resources to handle any kind of influx of homeless from any other municipalities in the state. Our community is already struggling to survive, and we simply don't have the capacity to fund, house, feed, and school a population increase. So I am in favor of this.
Any other discussion? Legislator Montgomery?
Yeah, Putnam County doesn't currently have a licensing scheme for its homeless shelters. There's nothing on the books. Just check out Ecode 360, and you can type in Putnam County's code, homeless shelter. Ironically, you'll find a scheme for an animal shelter. Ironically, in this county, we'll take in animals sent from Texas that end up at our publicly funded shelters, and they will potentially stay there for years, costing taxpayers thousands of dollars. So because we have no existing licensing scheme, this law still puts our existing homeless shelters at risk for improper operation. You're imposing a heavy bureaucratic burden on these shelters that are already overburdened, and you've done nothing to support them anyway. It's shameful. Any funding we get for these types of services, we get from the state and federal government anyway. Remember why I vote no on the budget. Putnam gives out big raises for upper management and elected officials and never increases funding for social services. There's so much fear about what Putnam will have to provide if the non-existent crisis happens. But what our elected leaders fail to do, even right here tonight, is to tell the public that there are resources that have been made available for this crisis. The New York State Emergency Declaration number 28 comes with funding for the Red Cross. Section 97G, state finance law, allows for the purchase of food, supplies, equipment to assist affected local governments, individuals, the addition of funding for relocation. None of this was mentioned at the Rules Committee meeting, just a lot of speculation and lies about what would happen. There were a lot of empty homes in my neighborhood during COVID-19. They were used for people seeking refuge from New York City. This law would have made my neighbors criminals for renting their homes out to people fleeing New York City. The definition of a homeless shelter in this law is really vague. Is it a hotel that rents 1 of 10 rooms to a homeless person, intending to provide, as it quotes, accommodation to the homeless? An Airbnb owner permitting a Ukrainian refugee to stay in their place for free? And if you didn't know, Airbnb already has this program, and it's been going for a while. So how is anyone determining the intent of the owner of the lodging? It's a bad law, not well thought out, leaving us wide open to being sued again and again. We can't afford it, and it's all for naught, because no one is asking us to house anyone. Do we really think that Putnam County will ever enter into a shared service agreement with anyone to house people? Judging from the venomous Rules Committee meeting on June 21st, where the chairwoman herself, we were just talking about rules, allowed her supporters and the supporters of the legislature and the county executive to use vulgar language in a public meeting that is now public record for our children to hear, where the chairwoman of Phillipstown's Republican Committee was told by deputies to sit down not once. The chairwoman of the Republican Committee of Phillipstown was told by deputies to sit down not once, but twice. I think not. I think you'll probably never enter into an agreement with any municipality to house refugees. So, judging from where these lawmakers think their support comes from, how is this not a violation of the rights of business owners? And again, I ask those that are chairing meetings to learn how to do it. Keep the public safe, let alone your colleagues. These people should have been removed from that meeting so that we could have had a meaningful deliberation. So I'm hoping that we're here now, and I'm hoping that we can do this tonight.
I will be voting in favor of this because the key components are, one, this is new. It does not affect any existing homeless shelters. The other thing is this is no municipality. This is not about private businesses. This is about other municipalities needing to be good neighbors and communicating with Putnam County. Any other
discussion? Legislator Sage.
One of the purposes, or one of the main purposes of government is to protect its citizens. And part of how we do that is providing laws. Our utmost focus should be on protecting our county. By amending the code of Putnam County to add this chapter regarding homeless shelters, we are protecting our citizens and our resources from being possibly overrun by outside agencies and municipalities who are shifting their responsibilities to counties like Putnam. Adding this new chapter entitled Homeless Shelters means, what it means is that outside municipalities, as my colleague just stated, cannot offer or provide temporary housing in our county, thereby creating homeless shelters or bypassing our laws without first entering into a shared services agreement with Putnam County. Outside municipalities cannot agree to house people in Putnam County without an open and transparent agreement as to what is being provided. We cannot strain our limited resources and infrastructure here in Putnam County. We have local towns who don't want or can't have VRBO short-term vacation rentals. We have towns with strict laws governing zoning. We have limited public transportation and sidewalks. We have towns who are overrun with tourism who can't handle weekend influxes of visitors on the weekends. Having a shared services agreement is an open and transparent government. A shared services agreement is something that would be discussed in an open meeting like we're having here today. It would allow local citizens to voice their opinion on how resources should be accessed by homeless populations. Recently, I attended the press conference in Dutchess County led by interim Dutchess County Executive William O'Neill. I went because I wanted to understand what was happening here in the Hudson Valley and the impact of this homeless situation on our communities. And I wanted to hear from the local leaders before I made any decisions. There were several local officials at the event from both sides of the political aisle. The big takeaway for me was that this is happening here in the Hudson Valley, and if it isn't happening in your town or county, you have to prepare. You don't announce a state of emergency a week after we're hit by a nor'easter. You declare a state of emergency in anticipation of the worst to prepare for the appropriate resources. And that is simply what this local law is doing and is intended to do. We are preparing for a situation that may or may not come here in Putnam County because of our limited resources. But we must be prepared to address a potential crisis. Leaders do not lead from behind or after the fact. Leaders make appropriate decisions to protect a citizen before a crisis. Therefore, I will be voting in favor of this local law.
Legislator Castellano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to echo the comments of Legislator Sage right next to me. Totally agree with what she's saying. This is a homeless issue that we have in front of us, and we're trying to be proactive. We're trying to prevent housing crisis. New York City needs to reach out to Putnam County government if they're looking for a shared services agreement in Putnam County. It's going to be a tremendous burden to our infrastructure, to our schools, to employment in our area. We have to do what's right for the people of Putnam County. We can help New York City if necessary, but they have to come to the table and speak to us, not go behind our backs to speak to local, hotels and motels, et cetera, to try to move their crisis up to us. And so I will be voting in favor of this as well.
Thank you, Chairman. New York City Mayor Adams, just a few months ago, said that the southern state governors that are sending homeless up to New York City were morally bankrupt. Now he is doing the same thing by trying to shift the strain that New York City is under to smaller suburban counties without even the courtesy of a conversation or a discussion on whether these municipalities can handle this. Putnam County and the others should not be held liable for the irresponsibility of New York City's failed policies and also for the failure of the federal government for not dealing with the southern border. If the largest city in the nation, New York City, is feeling stressed and can't handle this, who in their right mind would believe that one of the smallest counties in New York State, Putnam County, and in the country can handle this? Here in Putnam County, we are taking care of the people with whatever status they are. What we are doing with this local law is saying no. We are putting a stop to this before it occurs. Maybe the federal government will wake up and get the job done and close the southern border. This has had a tremendous negative impact on New York City. It is clear that there is no leadership or real plan to handle this crisis throughout this country. I have a letter from Supervisor of Putnam Valley I'd like to read. Her name is Jacqueline Anabi. It's dated June 22nd, 2023. It was to every member of the legislature. Read, transient accommodations / Putnam Valley. Dear County Legislators, I am writing to you regarding last night's Rules Committee meeting and wish to share my thoughts on the topic of amending the codes of Putnam County by adding Chapter 227 entitled Unauthorized Operation of Homeless Shelters, as it pertains to Putnam County and the Putnam Valley in particular. We are a small community, the town of Lakes, which we strive to protect on a daily basis. We do not oppose the influx of people into our town because we are opposed to homeless people. It's because we simply do not have the resources to facilitate the same. Our town board instituted a new law code back in 2017 regulating pumping of septic systems in our lake communities for the purpose of preserving the health of our lakes and our residents. There are strict restrictions on our lake communities regarding numbers of occupants, also for this purpose, in the interest of maintaining the well-being and safety of our residents who use our lakes who use our lakes regularly. Our lakes also provide drinking water to New York City, to the city of Peekskill, and to the watershed districts within our lake communities. Which also is the dangers of contamination. Is there a large increase in the population in our town? We have been reviewing and consistently the possibility of introducing code permitting short-term rentals for the past 2 years and have found colossal opposition to the same, based upon the fact that many feel that we do not have the appropriate infrastructure to facilitate the same. We do not have the funds in place to accommodate the hardship created by the necessity of additional resources such as increased ambulance and fire services. I support County Executive Burns' position on this issue wholeheartedly. The question is, can our community absorb busloads of people, regardless of where they originate from, to help our neighboring communities? The answer is simply no. This is a local issue in Putnam County, and we at the most basic level do not have the resources or infrastructure to place it to enable the same. Page 2. Some of our neighboring towns within Putnam County, Phillipstown for example, have a profound tourism base annually due to the hiking trails that are within and surrounding it. Their resources as it relates to emergency services are already stretched on an ongoing basis as a result of the same. Furthermore, New York State continually forces an exorbitant number of unfunded mandates upon municipalities, including the stringent of infrastructure surrounding sewers and waters. If this were not the case, perhaps Putnam County may have been better equipped to assist our neighbors. Putnam County is one of the smallest counties in New York State, and a large increase in the transient population will be harmful to our community. Signed, Jacqueline Navi, Supervisor, Town of Putnam Valley. Because of what I said and what this letter says, I will be voting to support this.
This legislative body has an obligation to protect the health and welfare of our residents. We've heard from our health department, we've heard from our Department of Social Services. There was an allusion before bringing animals from out of state, housing them in animal shelters and comparing that to a homeless human. It's mind-boggling. Any outside municipality, New York City, before they send their homeless to Putnam County, they must have a shared service agreement in place. This is protecting the resources here in Putnam County that we all pay dearly for. Our limited facilities in Putnam County are already being used to serve our population. And once again, we have an obligation to serve our people first. And with that, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Excuse me, I have a comment. I'd like to comment.
Everybody had their chance to comment. Roll
There
call
are
vote.
rules for this meeting.
It's a rule.
No, it's not a rule. There's no limit to comments.
You're out of order. I call for a
You're
roll
a
call vote.
ridiculous leader.
Yes.
Women on the board and then not let them comment. Where's my rebuttal?
You had your discussion. We all had a chance to discuss it. Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
With pleasure, yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
For the rights of private business owners and citizens, I vote no.
Chairman Yaki.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to 6O is the approval of supporting declarations of Executive Order 3 of 2023. Resolved, the Putnam County Legislature, on behalf of the County of Putnam, and in support of the previous enactment by the Putnam County Executive, hereby declares that Putnam County is not a sanctuary county, and is in fact a county committed to upholding the rule of law, and will remain dedicated with its policies and resources for the greater good of all citizens and residents of Putnam County.
Discussion.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Thank you. So again, this legislature and the county executive want to protect Putnam County, yet we are being sued, and we will be sued again, and continue to be sued for no reason. Because New York City has gone on record and stated there are no plans to house, bring, shelter migrants to Putnam. In the existing case with the New York Civil Liberties Union, and where Putnam County will fail to protect the resources that belong to the residents of Putnam County, is that the plain intent of this executive order, that moments from now, 8 members of this legislature who swore to uphold the Constitution will approve this legislation. And it's to prevent immigrants from relocating to the county.
Please.
I'll repeat it.
Oh, please don't.
It is the plain intent of this county will fail to protect the resources, and 8 members will pass this legislation to prevent asylum seekers from relocating to the county. That is unconstitutional. It violates federal civil rights statutes. It is unlawful. Even in the very clever language and this way of writing, the county executive includes self-serving language, disclaiming discriminatory intent, and even if he doesn't use the terms migrants and asylum seekers, the intent is obvious, and it's obvious that it will be proven in a court of law, and we will be screwed.
Exclude my tax dollars.
Nice try. You're still violating the Constitution you swore to uphold, as well as civil rights statutes.
Exclude my tax dollars from that.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. Executive Order number 2 is done what lawyers call, or will call, ultra vires, acting or done beyond one legal power or authority. Under what legislative code, rule, or regulation does the county executive believe he has this broad power? Executive Order 2. I, Kevin Byrne, as Chief Executive Officer of the County of Putnam, New York, may use any and all facilities, equipment, supplies, personnel, and other resources, including but not limited to town and village law enforcement, building code enforcement officers, fire departments. This is the law that they're about to pass. Public health inspectors, zoning code enforcement personnel. In order to effectuate the county executive's executive order, he's got no constitutional code, rule, regulation. He's provided no provision supporting his power over or control over local authority or local law enforcement. He's acting in an arbitrary and capricious manner, which is an abuse of discretion, not in accordance with the law, usurping the power of local town, village law enforcement, building code enforcement officers, fire departments, and zoning code enforcement. I, Kevin Byrne, may use any and all facilities, and you as his agents on this legislature, who have all gone on record to say you approve this, what are you using? May use any and all facilities. How do you plan to use them? And what in the Constitution, what provision gives you this power? To use our local fire department to use our local town police, this is setting a very, very, very dangerous precedent. It is way too overbroad. Hello, towns. Did he communicate this with you? The county executive, as well as the legislature, have a critical responsibility to determine and to take into account the effects of these proposals and the effect that they have on the town level, police, fire, and code enforcement. And this county executive must define exactly where he believes he obtains this authority and exactly what he proposes as the county executive control over local officials means. I'm surprised that any town supervisor is willing to hand this authority over to this overreaching county government without understanding the unintended consequences, especially without a democratic process on their part. It's reckless and irresponsible not to present this in a public forum before stationing this local law that will surely affect our citizens, businesses, and constitutional and civil rights. The mayor of Cold Spring writes, Mr. Burns' proposal is problematic on a number of levels, and I don't see how a number of elements in these performative executive orders can be codified into the county's policy or charter. Executive Order 1. Hotels and motels are private businesses that maintain their own operating protocols within the constraints of public health and safety codes. Is the county legislature planning to seize their operations and determine who can be given accommodation in these private businesses? Is there a county level equivalent to nationalizing private enterprises? I don't think Putnam County's at war. Has the county executive's legal team actually reviewed local zoning for all Putnam's constituent municipalities? I don't think so. They've not even met with the county executives on this, town supervisors and mayors on this. I'm not aware of reference to hotels as the memo describes. Executive Order 2, this is from the mayor of Cold Spring. I don't see how the county legislature or the county executive can take command of a local law enforcement agency that report to the mayor, or of the code enforcement staff who report to the supervisor. This police department are part of Phillipstown. Cold Spring and its police department are part of Phillipstown. How does the town local level law relate to the Cold Spring Police Department and its operations? As far as I'm aware, our department's policies and procedures are determined solely by the village board level in compliance with state and federal law. Our fire company is a department of the village, but its chain of command in incident response runs through its chief and officers, not the mayor. I don't know how the rising chain of command for fire and EMS works with Putnam County, but it should be clarified as it relates to this order and proposed policy. While I appreciate the county executive's enthusiasm for the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, I swore an oath to uphold all of them. It seems more appropriate for any county legislation to refer specifically to the bodies and entities within its actual jurisdiction and command. In other words, the county should speak for itself and not imply all that municipalities are aligned. I'll keep going because obviously I'm not going to be able to speak again, so hold the chair. This legislature in a matter of moments will be making a decision in a vacuum. Regardless of good intent, it is simply the wrong thing to do. You sounded off the alarm and created a violent division in our county. You hid the fact that if any county were to take in asylum seekers, there are resources available to these municipalities. $1 billion in the state budget, resources that come with their emergency declaration, $100 million through FEMA's agency shelter service program. And not for nothing, your legislation, I'll wait, because I'll just wait for the rudeness to stop. I still have the floor. And not for nothing, your legislation that imagines something that's not here is awful. It sets out to speculate that these people are criminals, as did your mob that you recruited at the Rules Committee meeting. These are individuals, just like you and me. I'll wait, I still have the floor if you'd like to gain control of your meeting.
Continue.
I'd like to be heard, and I can't because the public...
They can hear you. Obviously, they can hear you. Please. Please. Please, we do, please, if you, whether you agree or disagree, please give some respect while we're speaking. Thank you.
You sounded off the alarm and created a violent division in our county. You hid the fact that if any county were to take in asylum seekers and all the resources available, and not for nothing, your legislation that imagines something that's not here is awful. It sets out to speculate that these people are criminals, as did your mob that you recruited at the Rules Committee meeting. These are individuals, just like you and me, and they have fled their home countries due to persecution, violence, and unimaginable hardships. Unimaginable. You can remove people, you know, from a meeting if they continue. No, you make it impossible to deliberate, any of you. I'll wait.
You've been given the floor.
I don't have the floor, they have the floor.
I don't hear a thing.
They're talking. They're talking. We hear over here.
All right. Please, let's have some silence. I don't want to have to clear the room. Please.
They have fled their home countries due to persecution, violence, and unimaginable hardships. We must play our part in repairing this broken world, and this is not the way to do it. It's just causing more damage, as you can see. A community is formed by a shared set of values, not sameness, but values which involves a commitment to integrate, not divide. The fundamental way to create a healthy community is to recognize that we are connected despite our differences, and that should affect how we educate and govern. We're not doing a good job at this in Putnam. This crisis is larger than us, and the way to be a part of the solution is not The way to be a part of this solution is not with this self-centered legislation. This is a tragedy that's ripping us apart. I know something about tragedies and how a community can come together despite their differences to recover from tragedy. It's in finding something common, which I believe is in our humanity. Don't divide us further by passing this bad legislation. Dare to be human.
Any other discussion?
Pivot.
Legislator Sage.
So just to be clear, this is not a law that we're passing. This is policy. Just like declaring a sanctuary county, it's not a law. It's just a policy of the municipality. We're a nation of laws that are to protect our citizens. So-called sanctuary policies are designed to restrict cooperation with the federal government and the authorities and bypass the immigration law of our country. We have immigration law in this country so that we can immigrate in an orderly fashion. By circumventing federal immigration authorities, these policies place the public at risk by preventing the authorities from locating, arresting, and prosecuting criminal aliens, possible gang members, and drug cartel who are flooding our state. Our state is being flooded with illegal fentanyl, killing our kids. This puts us at risk. It puts us at risk of and danger of being victimized by all those who may be hiding amongst the asylum seekers. I would also like your respect. I know you disagree with me, just as I disagree with Legislator Montgomery, but I was very respectful and I listened. It puts us all at risk, not just regular citizens of the United States, not just as the regular Joe, not of all of our students, our mom and pops, our people who came here legally or people who may have snuck over the border. It puts everyone at risk of being victimized, especially when we can't let law enforcement know where these people are hiding. The only people benefiting from the sanctuary policies are the criminals who is protecting. I'm not saying that immigrants are criminals by far.
Please. I'm going to clear the room. I'm going to clear the room. I ask politely.
You don't know anything about
if you don't agree,
about issues.
please be silent. Whether you agree or disagree, please.
I'm not saying that immigrants are criminals. My family is immigrants. My in-laws came here from another country 50 years ago. They came here the right way. That is why I will support approving the executive order number 3 to protect law-abiding citizens and to protect those who are also seeking asylum here for anyone who's here for the wrong reasons. I will be supporting this executive order.
Legislator Elner.
Contrary to popular opinion, New York State is not a sanctuary state. Thank you. Syracuse University has issued studies over the last few years, and it's obvious that nationwide, over the last 2 years, over 2/3 of the asylum seekers were denied asylum. Regardless of your status, federal law prohibits these people from working in the U.S. We can't afford it. I support the county executive, and I will be voting for this policy.
Just so we're clear, I'm pro-immigration. I'm the son of an immigrant. I'm the son of an immigrant who came here legally. You're the son of an immigrant. Thanks for your courtesy. Thanks for your courtesy. I support the rule of law. I support the Constitution. I support our county executive, and I'll be voting yes.
Legislator Ednizio.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
With pleasure, yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Gordon.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
God bless America, no.
Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Yonke.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, I recognize Chairman Castellano of the Audit and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of legislators Elner and Bullman, I'd like to bring forward the following. Item 6P is the approval of the budgetary amendment for the Youth Bureau, the 2023 runaway and homeless youth programs that we are funding through the state, and we're moving some money around to the correct allocation.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6Q is the approval of fund transfer for finance. This is to correct the vacancy control line. From time to time during the course of the year, the Commissioner of Finance comes to us just to correct the books and put the funding in the correct location. It's zero fiscal impact.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is other business. We have item 7A, which is an amendment to Resolution 63 of 2023, the Budget and Finance Committee representative. We will be, because of conflicts with committee assignments, we will be replacing Legislator Goldman with Legislator Nassarino. I need to make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
To add to the agenda.
To add to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this is just to replace Legislator Goldman with Legislator Nassarino. Discussion, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 7B, I'd like to make a motion to place this on the agenda with the additional. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This is the approval of our standard workday reporting. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Our next item is approved recognition of public on agenda items. By a show of hands, can I see how many people would like to speak? Okay. With this number, we want to make sure everybody does have a chance to speak. We're going to ask you to keep your comments brief, and we're going to limit you to 3 minutes. When I call time, please just be respectful and finish up, please. We'd like to let everybody comment. Please be respectful of whether you agree or disagree. Please be respectful. Please, do we have a sign-in sheet? Yes. When you step to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside. All right? So we're going to recognize the public at this time. Okay, can you please lift the microphone up? Thank you.
Judy Allen, Putnam Valley. Elected officials of cities, counties, and states declare a state of emergency after hurricanes, fires, tornadoes, floods, and other disasters. But our county executive declared a state of emergency in anticipation of hordes of refugees seeking shelter in our all but non-existent hotels and motels brings to mind the story of Chicken Little. The term Chicken Little has become synonymous with alarmism, used to describe people who needlessly stoke fear among people. Maybe you remember the story. A chicken named Chicken Little is walking through the woods when she's struck by an acorn falling from one of the trees. Convinced that the sky is falling, Chicken Little rushes from the woods to go and warn the king. She meets a number of her friends, Penny Penny, Lucy Lucy, Ducky Lucky, Turkey Lucky, and so on. Chicken Little tells each of them that the sky is falling, and she has first-hand evidence. They each join Chicken Little, and soon there's a large group of them convinced that the sky is falling. They hasten on, intent on delivering the news. Then they meet Foxy Loxy, who asks them why they're in such a hurry. Chicken Little explains that the sky is falling and that they're going to notify the king. Foxy Loxy offers to take them to the king's castle, and the birds agree to accompany him. But the fox leads them not to the castle, but to his den, and the birds are never seen alive again. This simple tale contains a number of morals. What are those morals? 1, don't form incorrect conclusions from insufficient data. 2, don't stoke fear in others without good cause to do so. And 3, don't take other people's word for things, especially when those other people are making extraordinary claims which should require extraordinary evidence. I sat in this room in January and listened to our new county executive take the oath of office and proclaim that Putnam County would be a county under the rule of law, which sounded fine at the time. We do have a constitution after all. But to see him issue an executive order based on the fear of an unlikely eventuality, not an imminent threat, and then to ask you to codify it into law, which you have now done, I'm worried. What's next? Is he going to issue an executive order for certain groups of people to wear armbands? And when he codifies that, I am dismayed.
Time, please wrap up.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Peter. I'm from Mahopac, New York, and thank God we are not not
Your
Democrat.
last name, please?
Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank God we are not Democrat run. I would just like to say that I live in a small, quaint area that is not a sanctuary town. Recently, I was watching the disaster at the southern border and the impact it has on New York City. $500 a night hotels, our hospitals are inundated, our schools are overrun, crime, fentanyl, which is already discussed. And thank God for our trusted servants that we elected will protect our village. I would just like to say these are not asylum seekers, these are financial illegal immigrants. Millions have entered my country, millions. They are getting Section 8, WIC, food stamps, child care, more than my pension. Some get about $6,000 a month and send their remittances back home. Because if we don't, our tax base will not be directed for the people of Mayapack. Your emergency services will be geared towards the illegal immigrants. Your taxes will not be going to the elderly. In fact, my taxes are very high. Very, very high.
And where do they go?
Shh. So what's happening, I say this. If we won't be getting hundreds, we will be getting thousands. Thousands. And you know who's going to pay for that? The taxpayer. Your quality of life will fall. Look at the child trafficking. Look at the disaster. We're not getting their best, we're getting their worst. I'd like to ask you a question, Ms. Montgomery, and I want to test the hypocrisy.
There's not going to be any cross.
Okay, but I want to ask the people here, how many illegal immigrants are you taking in tonight? That's the crickets because that's the hypocrisy. All right? And I want to just say this last thing. I want to say this. My country is under siege. We are in big trouble. We are a country of immigrants. We're a country of legal immigrants. And like my great former president once said, they are sending the worst.
Chairman,
I'm not going to tolerate this. If we can't listen to people, whether you agree or disagree, I am going to clear the room and we're going to put an end to this, which I don't really want to do. So please be respectful.
Chairman,
yes.
it's proper conduct to address the chair and not the audience, and that's what keeps the public. No, I'm asking you to run the meeting properly. You don't allow them to address the public. That creates a riot. And if you want to incite that again, as you guys did.
I'm not inciting anything. Please direct your, please, no questions, just direct your comments. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your name and the town.
My name is Steve Clorofilla. I'm a Mayapack resident. I'm approaching this from a little bit of a different angle than a lot of people do. I'm a union supporter. I've been a union guy for most of my adult life. And historically, union people have been attacked by very wealthy, powerful people that would bring in vast quantities of illegal aliens to lower the wage scale for workers. Okay, they pay off politicians or their dupes, their lapdogs, their stooges, in order to inflict large numbers of illegal aliens into their communities to lower the wage scale. It only benefits the super rich. And I'm addressing the chair, but I'd like some of the people in the back on the left side of this room, many of whom probably are union people, to wake up and realize the effect all of these illegal aliens are going to have on their lives. Your tax dollars will be eaten up by providing medical care, food, shelter for all of these illegal immigrants. Wake up, look at the politicians, so-called elected officials that are working against your interess as they're fooling you that they are supporting the working people. They're not. They're your enemy. These are the stooges that have been bought off by big business, big corporations, in order to inflict this on us, to oppress the working people of this county, and to inflict tyranny on them. And look, don't believe the platitudes and the nonsense that these types of elected officials try to fool an unsuspecting labor force with them. They are truly the enemies of the people, pretending to be your friend, when in reality, they are an enemy of the working people.
I don't think we have elected officials on the agenda, and I'm not sure he's speaking.
I'm talking about,
this is their
I have the
He's
floor.
not- you've already
Speak
to an agenda item.
I am talking about the agenda.
You're talking about elected officials. We're not on the agenda.
Protecting the people of this county from those that would exploit and oppress the working people of this county. And I think we just heard from one of them.
Nice job, Chairman.
So wake up, people, wake up and look at the effects that this will have on your quality of life. Not to mention having numbers of criminals that are not vetted. They're not vetted for disease. They're not vetted for tuberculosis or any other disease. And they're going to be inflicted on you, on your children, in your schools, in your places of employment.
Please wrap up.
Okay. I want to thank those members of the legislature that are interested in protecting the people of this county.
Please wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
They're already here. I've witnessed busloads being unloaded at 2 a.m. in the vacant Bull and Barrel parking lot while I was coming back from an EMS call picking up an illegal alien that was drunk and fell, while someone else whose call came in a few seconds later fell and broke a hip, one of our citizens. They had to wait for an ambulance while I took this guy to the hospital. They're already here, and they are still coming. Brewster, the housing problem for the fire marshal, overcrowding. For EMS, they're taking EMS calls away from our citizens who pay taxes for us to do this. The public drunkenness and urination in town. A woman cannot walk down the street without catcalls and lewd gestures. I found them camping in places I used to go to fish. You know, I'm very uncomfortable with that. They're building fires in the woods. And the rentals, our citizens can't get a rental place in Brewster because they're filled with illegal aliens. And we don't know their mental or criminal background. All I know is there may be good people, but they broke into this country. They're illegal. And immigrants have been waiting years to come here legally. That's all I want to say.
Cindy Turnbull, Cold Spring, New York, town of Phillips now. Chairman Yankee, I just want to address a comment made by the District 1 legislator earlier. At the last meeting, the chairman of the Republican committee stood up to address the District 1 legislator when she referred to the constituents of the county executive, including her own constituent, the chairman of the Republican committee, as racist. A term resorted to and overused by persons who have no reasonable, logical, or intelligent argument. Tonight, the District 1 legislator called us a mob, and then she accuses us of being divisive. I just want to thank the county executive, Kevin Byrne, our county legislators, Yankee, Elner, Adanizio, Gouldman, Castellano, Sage, and Crowley, for putting the residents and taxpayers of Putnam County first by not allowing any outside municipality, in this case New York City, to dump their problems that they caused on us, creating an economic burden and a public safety risk. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bill Schutte from Mayapack, New York. I would just like to thank you 7 legislators for being proud to be American. It's very heartwarming to see this. I thought the country was done, and it's nice to see it in Putnam County. You make me proud, really.
Prakash Tiwari. I built my home in Carmel 23 years ago. And people here are blurring the lines of legal, illegal. That's why I have to state 2 lines, what I said earlier in the last meeting. I landed at JFK Airport July 30th, 1988 on a visa, on a scholarship. After 2 years of a scholarship, I got my work permit. Then I got my green card and became US citizen. And every step, I went through very thorough investigation that required my all health investigation for every disease and getting my records that I don't have any criminal record in India or in the US, anywhere. And also, I needed to prove that I was never on any welfare scheme. So that is called legal immigration. And I am proud of that I am citizen of this great country. Some of you may recall that what we are doing right now, same thing happened in France 3-4 years ago. All friends invited all these asylum seekers, gave them home and everything. And now what is happening over the last 1 week? Whole France is burning. If you are watching real news, not just fake news media, you may see that every car on the street is burning. Every business is looted and burned down. Then these loving and innocent asylum seekers are burning down the whole country. These people who just watching fake news media, they don't know this. They need to see real news, how these peaceful asylum seekers are burning down the whole country, and that disease is not limited to France anymore. It is spreading across the different countries. So, are we looking for that kind of future here? It is not just our law enforcement cannot handle it. I have first-hand experience. It is not just drugs and child molestation. They are doing so much financial crime that is not in the news. I have first-hand experience of that. My son is in US Army. He was going to advanced training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And during the training period, they take away your cell phone or computer. You don't have access to outside world. You get cell phone back only for 30 minutes on Sunday. So on cell phone, he checked what he was paid by the Army. When he checked it,
Please wrap up.
$9,800 from his account from his Army salary missing. And there was also a joint account that by name of, so I went to Carmel police station, I reported it. A Carmel detective, he tried all his best to catch this criminal, but that criminal was an asylum seeker and he was protected. Army police tried to do the same thing, to go after this criminal. They were blocked. So that these
Thank you. Please, we have more people. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Harris, and I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to this. And also, I would like to thank all of you for having last month's Juneteenth celebration. I'd like to say, first of all, I want to give you a little background on myself. A short introduction is, I was a pleasure to have in class. Did not cheat. I did extra credit. I did extra projects, reading, handed in my assignments on time, participated in all activity, and brought enlightened ideas and critical information to all class discussions. As mature in my thinking, disciplined, did not disrupt the learning of others through childish behavior, is not a bully, does not follow the crowd, never has been suspended from school, don't have a criminal record, has a natural love of learning, organized the county's first 2 Black History celebrations with a little help from my friends. But let me reiterate, it's a pleasure to have you in class because intelligence does not hiss or boo. All right, so I did thank you for the Juneteenth celebrations and all the legislators that came. It was historic, and I really do mean that. But I also want to say that we have permanent residents in Putnam County. And in 2022, Putnam County received $19 million in Build Back Better, federal funds. And the first project was to renovate the county's golf course at the cost of $400,000. And out of the $19 million, a portion of that money should include permanent staffing for the fire department and EMT services. That's without the first question of a migrant person coming into this county. The county executive, actually, in my opinion, is using New York City as a scapegoat because the root of our problem should be directed at the governors Ron DeSantis of Florida and Greg Abbott of Texas. They have been undisciplined and childish in their actions and behaviors to treat these problems and the things that are coming up and shirking their duty to migrants or any people. Oh, I'm rapping? Okay. Well, one thing I want to say is I wonder if there's any way possible, and my hope is that the board is not swayed by people who worship at the altar of social media or governed to score hollow political points. You know, if hisses and boos is that your determining factor? Because we have much more. You know, I have more to say, but I'm going to wrap it.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you.
Thank you. We have people waiting in line, please.
Well, you know
Everybody's
what?
got something
I
to
think
say.
you got my point.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
My name is John Ferrano from the town of Kent. I'd like to, first of all, thank the legislature that voted in support of the proposition to restrict homeless and illegals. I'd like to express my disapproval on housing of homeless and illegals in Putnam County. I moved to this beautiful county 37 years ago to give my family the safety and serenity that this county afforded my family. The proposal to house homeless and immigrants that have not been vetted and have nothing about, that we know nothing about, I find completely unacceptable. In support of my little speech, I'd just like to say, in the first proclamation, the 2 deputies were given that proclamation for apprehending people that had raped a young woman. I don't know the 2 suspects that were apprehended where they were from, but that one suspect fled to Mexico. That should tell you something. Obviously, not all illegals are unlawful, but in this particular case, that cites my premise. I personally have immigrants in my family. They all immigrated legally. They have these illegals and homeless. Many have entered the country illegally, and I do not wish to reward them with taxpayer-funded services. Putnam County is a small county. We can't afford it. The other thing is, quite frankly, they've stopped becoming illegal aliens. They've all become asylum seekers. Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting us speak. I will just take a moment.
Your name and town.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jean Hopper, Mahopac, 30 years. To reflect on our compassion and our humanity as citizens of this world. You mentioned, Representative Sage, you're my representative, the scarce resources, but yet you voted for the $2 million for golf course repair and support. I agree with you. I think we have elected officials who run roughshod with our tax dollars. It's a great example of it. You mentioned zoning, yet my own town of Carmel is still lacking its comprehensive plan, which directly affects zoning, which directly affects our pocketbooks as taxpayers. You mentioned protecting us from what? The gentleman just mentioned about the rape case. I'll highlight that in Brewster, we had one of Brewster's own law enforcement be involved in human trafficking, sexual abuse of young Hispanic women. So let's not paint with a broad brush. There are good and evil, and I think what Montgomery mentioned before is that this was a divisive issue that brought out the worst in so many of our neighbors, and didn't have to be. I understand the fear. I don't understand the ignorance and the hatred, but I think if we were to educate people that this is not happening, that we're not at risk, that it's not a they against us. I hear a lot with regular citizens and, us, and we're all citizens. We're human beings. We are a compassionate county. We run charities. We've helped the needy. We've helped the ASPCA. How many things on Next Door Neighbor do we see the app where my dog ran away during the fireworks and we all rally because someone is in need? The need doesn't exist yet, but if it does, I sure hope we can show our compassion and humanity. You lead with a prayer and a governmental thing. I believe that we have compassion and humanity that we need to reach down deep in. I would also hope that if there were a crisis in one of our neighboring towns, in our state or in our country, as we do, we lend first responders, we have NICEAG trucks go all over the country. Aren't we better when we help each other rather than fight against each other?
We all know that our comments tonight fall on deaf ears because you've made your decision and you operate out of political allegiance alone. But I want it on the record that the county executive, and now most of you, are negligently misinforming, I wrote that, but the phrase is lying to, your constituents by conjuring up a threat where none exists. These people are coming here the right way. They are asylum seekers. They are here legally. New York City has sued Putnam and 30 other counties passing these unconstitutional executive orders and already won injunctions on the orders in Rockland and Orange. That's because while you hilariously attempt to declare this is a constitutional and rule of law county, you're trampling all over the Constitution with this executive order and now this law or policy or whatever it is. You cannot tell private businesses how to operate, and all this is doing is wasting your constituents' money. We have not been asked to take any migrants in, and even if we are asked, the city has made it clear from day one that it will be at their expense. The county executive has suggested in passing that Putnam has been asked to take in migrants without explaining what he means by that or offering any actual evidence of it. But regardless, what no one is talking about is what has been detailed in the lawsuit against us. Quote, as a part of its massive response, the city has sought to utilize hotel rooms outside the city to provide temporary housing assistance for a small number of asylum seekers, with the city covering the cost of those hotels and of providing services to the individuals, unquote. When I spoke to Kevin Byrne about this recently, he tried to pretend that it wasn't about racism or xenophobia, but simply the fact that people of any kind living long-term without jobs or money or services will inevitably resort to crime. But as the city's lawsuit explains, they will be provided food, shelter, and services by the city. So he lied to me that day, and he's lying to all of you. We all know what this order and this law are really about. Unfounded hysteria meant to rile up the most vocal base of your supporters, both locally and nationally. It started in Texas and it's continuing here. What's further ironic is that most of those supporting these orders and laws claim to be the God and country crowd. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and the God I learned about did not ask his followers to make up lies about innocent people in need of shelter, to cast them as criminals and stoke imaginary fears based on no statistics whatsoever. The vast majority of these asylum seekers are people in poverty fleeing from countries like Venezuela, which has experienced an economic collapse, people fleeing political violence and destruction as a result of natural disasters, and LGBTQ+ people. You all love to shout about how America is the greatest country in the world, but then when people want to come here because they also think that there's no room at the inn, God, if they exist, would be disgusted. And they'd also be disgusted by the way you choose the only legislator on the panel who ever disagrees with any of you.
Thank you.
You guys look like you're not listening. You were on your phone, rolling your eyes. That's real nice. Wow, nice. While she was speaking, that's great. Anyway, I came here a couple of months ago. I'm sure you remember the face, and I made a statement which I'm going to say true today. I see the county for what it is and why it is. You lead by example. This county has racism in it, and you guys are putting that out.
Whether you agree or disagree, please allow our speakers.
Reclaim my time.
I've got to pause.
Thank you. Thank you. Anywho, you guys don't seem to see the division here. You know, you were very careful with the words you read. You said homeless, shelters, homeless. We all know you're trying to keep asylum seekers out. And no, they're not illegal immigrants. And we are on stolen land. Unfortunately, some of us are not that educated to know that. However, we are. Okay, I'm tired of hearing people saying, my family came here legally. Guess what? So did mine. Yet I'm standing here telling you that doesn't matter. I can still understand why people are seeking asylum from countries they're afraid. And you have to put it in your mind, why are they coming here to the greatest country to run away from what they are afraid of? There's nothing wrong with that. If people are coming up here and saying, oh, well, we don't know if they have a criminal background. Guess what? I don't know if my neighbor has a criminal background. Right to bear arms. They've already had freaking arsenal in their house. I don't have the right to know that, do I? So why do we have the right to know what their criminal background is or whatever it may be? I don't know what my neighbors have in their home. I don't know their background, nor do I care. Right? So why do they come up here and say that? It should not matter if they are seeking help for a reason. There's no reason to turn your backs away. It's inhumane. And you're turning your backs away on something that wasn't even asked of you. And if it is asked of you, it's not coming out of our pockets. It's not coming out of our tax-paying dollars. You're going to get money for it. Reclaiming my time. Anywho, they're so worried about these asylum seekers being criminals, and he wants to talk about how one of them raped someone, and that's sad. There's criminals right here. We house, behind the social services office, pedophiles. Our taxes go to that. You house pedophiles, you feed them, you make sure they get jobs. They are raping children. And let's not forget what their probation office is, up the hill from the high school, where they go and they meet their probation officers. But nobody wants to sit here and talk about our own criminals, right here in the town of Putnam County, right? Take pictures, I love it.
Please wrap up.
And I do say that, is I call it what I see it. And I don't care if they don't like it. It is what it is. This is a racist town, and you guys are showing your colors.
We have a bunch of people who want to speak. If you don't think you're going to agree with them, please leave. That goes for both sides. Both sides, please, just maintain some order. Let these people speak.
Oh my God!
My clock is not starting. I'm sorry, let this guy finish. When this guy
No,
starts shouting at the
you have the
audience-
floor, speak.
All right, thank you very much.
And please, the microphone, please.
Yeah, so my name's Jim Wise. I'm right here in Carmel. And I'm here to introduce you to some people who could really help shed light on this issue. But unfortunately, they're not able to join us tonight. This young man here is Klaus Goldschmidt. He came to the U.S. seeking asylum in 1939. He was turned away at the border under then current U.S. law, and he died in Auschwitz. This little baby is Joachim Hirsch. He came to the U.S. seeking asylum in 1939. He was turned away at the border, and he died in Auschwitz. This young lady, this little girl, is Evelyn Grieve. She came to the U.S. in 1939 seeking asylum. She was turned away at the border. She managed to escape Germany a second time and was killed by a death squad in Italy. This young lady is Ruthie Grunthal. She came to the U.S. in 1939 seeking asylum. She was turned away at the border, and she died in Theresienstadt. I could go on. I have a very thick pile here, but here's the point. Coming out of the war with the things we discovered, with the terrible things that people came here from where they were born, where they were raised, where they expected to live their whole life, and they had to drop it all and flee. In 1952, the United States passed the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. Under that law, anyone who comes to the U.S. seeking asylum because they are endangered in their homeland is lawfully admitted to the United States while their claims are investigated. If they are lying, they are deported. If they are allowed in, they are allowed to stay until it is determined that they are safe. Asylum seekers are legal immigrants under the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. We've heard a lot of people here say, if they just came here the right way, we would support them. Here are people who came here the right way. They came to the border, they turned themselves in. They're not in New York City's custody because they were caught. Had they been caught, they would be deported. They turned themselves in, seeking asylum because their homeland was so dangerous. The towns they grew up in, were born in, grew up in, expected to send their life in, were so dangerous. There's a quote, "No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a tiger." Anyone who says they support illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, asylum seekers are legal immigrants, now is your chance to shine.
Thank you.
Now, we were labeled as a mob, and I see both sides going back and forth. Okay, we stand in this room with a picture of George Washington. They talk about the Constitution, right? There were 55 delegates, and 39 of them signed the Constitution. The Constitution is not the law, okay? The law is the amendments, the Bill of Rights, okay? And that Constitution was written for the American citizens, the people that were here. Not for France, who helped us in the war, not for Britain, who we kind of kicked out. It was written for the American citizen. Now, I don't have a problem. I was in the military, which Mr. Gross forgot to put in his paper when he labeled us as a mob and made me look like an enemy.
Sir,
Hey, excuse me. I'm talking.
Sir.
Keep your mouth shut. Right? So, again, this is not against people coming in here. I got a tattoo of my grandsons. They live in Arizona. They're Mexican. But her grandfather was a judge in Texas and did it legally. Went through the thing. Okay? Also in the military, we were transported for asylum seekers. Okay?
Sir, address the legislature.
Right. I know the difference between a legal immigrant and an asylum seeker. That doesn't mean all these people that are coming in are bad. But we do have a problem. And look at the crime in New York City. Okay? And a mob is what you see in Walmart, wrecking down shelves. You're going to want to have that come up here? So I'm glad you guys sit here, and the other side, you know, if we don't agree with you, we're racist, we're homophobics, we're pedophiles, every other thing you want to get. You. See? This is what you got.
I'm going to tell you, I'm near the end here. If you can't be respectful to them, I asked everybody to be respectful when you were speaking. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Mr. Wise. I asked them to be respectful, so please, just be respectful. Just let them talk. Please. Please finish.
Thank you. Again, this is what we now have. They talk about being divided. It's divided amongst the American people. The other countries are coming in and we're giving them handouts. I'm a taxpayer. I've been here since 1968. Okay, my family's been here. Worked all our lives. I'm not privileged. Okay, I serve my country proudly. I don't see any other color than red, white, and blue. And black, white, Asian, I served with every ethnic group there is. And we all bleed the same color. They want to make it about race. They want to make it about sexuality, sexual preference. This is about America and what's happening today. Look, all you got to do is look around. You can't even go with Brewster. Brewster, I mean, I can remember growing up as a kid, going to the movies there. Everything was quaint. It's not that way anymore. Crime is on the rise here.
Thank you. I'm going to ask, this is the last time. Okay, sir, I keep hearing your voice over and over again. Either I'm going to ask you to leave or I'm going to ask you to be removed. So please, just allow people to speak.
They were speaking while I was
I'm asking for both sides, but I'm hearing it right there, all right? And if I hear anybody on the other side...
better than the other, is that what you're telling me? Because both sides are talking, both sides are...
I'm asking everybody, but I'm hearing you laughing the whole time.
Both sides are shouting.
I'm just asking you politely, the last time. Yes, ma'am.
Pastor Jennifer Boyd, pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church here in Brewster Carmel, Porter. First of all, people are not illegal. They're not illegal. They're people. They're humans. We're all created in the image of God, no matter where we're looking.
Sir, please. I'm sorry.
No matter where we are from or what we do. I've had the pleasure to be able to spend some time in Guatemala, and I will tell you that the people who are coming here, particularly from Guatemala, are coming here for the same reasons that our own ancestors came, for better opportunity. They are not criminals. Sure, there may be some amongst them that are, but oftentimes they're families who are coming for better opportunity, just as my ancestors did. Escaping often war and violence, corruption, and a whole natural disasters and all kinds of things. They would love to probably stay in their own homes, but it's not safe. It's not safe. And they want to come someplace where it's safe, where there's the opportunities that they wouldn't have back in their own country. They're not all criminals. They're not, as somebody mentioned here earlier, that there are probably criminals in our own neighborhoods. That doesn't mean we deport them. It means that we treat them with humanity. We seek to bring, as they were talking earlier about with the probation officers, to try to help them to live new lives. That's what we do. We're humans. And when we stop treating each other as that, we become inhuman ourselves. As a Christian, as a pastor, I turn again and again to Scripture, and Jesus says to us, when there is a stranger, you welcome them. Throughout Scripture, Old Testament and New Testament, it says again and again to welcome the stranger. They're not illegal, they're humans, and that we are called to do that and to take care of them. It just saddens me and breaks my heart to hear that we're so much more concerned about proper rules and what may or may not happen, that we've lost our sense of humanity, that we've lost a sense of compassion and care, that the rule of law becomes more important than God's love that we have for one another. I shouted out, and I'm not one to shout out. I mean, I preach a lot. I may shout out there, but I shouted out shame on you. Because that's what I feel. Because my heart is breaking for this county, this beautiful county with lots of wonderful people across a diversity of people. And that rather than celebrating that diversity, we're trying to make everybody the same. So yes, I don't say it easily, but shame on you for this decision.
Here to support my neighbors because I'm concerned about what's going to happen, what could happen here. It's going to fall over into other areas, so that's why I'm here. And I want to read something to you. This was dated January 28th of 1965. It was signed by Nelson A. Rockefeller, who was the governor of New York at the time. As governor of the state of New York, I congratulate you upon the occasion of your naturalization. As an American citizen, you are entitled to all the rights and prerogatives of our Constitution and its Bill of Rights. It's your duty as a citizen, and your responsibility as a human being to preserve and enhance the spirit of liberty and the dignity of the individual for this and future generations of Americans, and for all freedom-loving men and women throughout the world. I'm delighted to extend a welcome to you as a citizen of the state of New York. Here, I hope you will enjoy the fullest bounties of our wonderful country, and through your efforts, strengthen our heritage of freedom. Signed, Rockefeller. That was to my dad. My dad came here from Germany. He also endured the war at a very young age, a little boy. He came first he was from Poland, and he went to Germany to escape. When he went to Germany, he admired the American soldiers because they were very kind to him, and he said at a young age, America must be a really wonderful country. And he wanted to come here. So when he was 18 years old, he decided he wanted to come to America. He needed a sponsor to live here, and he needed a sponsor to work here. He got both. He came over here in 1959. He worked 3 jobs. He was a painter, he worked in a gas station, and he worked in a restaurant. My dad never took anything, and I know he would never take anything from anyone. He obeyed the laws, and he became a citizen, and he was so proud of it. And he always told me and my sister, this is the greatest country in the world, the United States of America.
Please wrap up.
But my dad came here the right way. He had to come through Ellis Island. He had to get medically tested. He had to have been, and he had to been vetted.
Thank you.
My point is that you need to do that the right way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Hayes, resident of the town of Southeast for 25 years. It's all about economics. Putnam County, the rest of the United States, does not have the economics for the economy that we did decades ago. We cannot support this influx of illegal aliens, any immigrants. We just don't have the infrastructure to support it. We're sending all of our industry overseas. But I realize that's beyond the scope of this board tonight. We hear some right-leaning estimates of 30 to 40 illegal aliens in this country. We hear left-leaning estimates saying it's only 10 or 15 million. By any estimates, we are talking about tens of millions of illegal aliens. Not just all immigrants, just estimates of illegal aliens. And again, people who were born and raised in this country, people who are already here, have to compete in the labor market with an influx of people that we've never seen before historically. And again, I appreciate this board for looking out for the interests of the citizens of this county, as you are our last line of defense. Thank you.
Hi, Mike Webb. I come from the thriving metropolis of Hopewell Junction, Dutchess County. I used to go roller skating with you 100 years ago. And I sponsored a legal immigrant. It took me 7 years. He had to jump through hoops. I had to jump through hoops. We had to do this, we had to do that, we had to sign this, we had to go for an appointment, be interviewed. IRS came, HHS came. It was a big hassle. It took me 7 years. Now he's in. His name is Gustavo from Uruguay. That said, there's a lot of emotion here, and there's a lot of dingbat. So let's cut through the dingbat and let's go straight to KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. There's 330 million people in America, legally or not, more or less. Between Africa, Asia, South America, there is 5 billion, with a B, 5 billion people. We have 330 million. Now, 3 billion, and if you don't believe what I'm saying, feel free to look it up. Don't believe anything I say. Check it out. Do your own research. That said, there's 3 billion people in the world, in various places, and they make less than $2 a day. Less than $2 a day. So if you went to any one of them and said, hey, do you want to go to America? You know what they're going to say? Hell yeah! I want to go to America. Why? I'm impoverished. I need asylum. I need $3 a day. I need something that I don't have. Send me to America. Okay, but wait a while. There's only 330 million of us. And there's 3 billion that want to come in. How's that going to click? It is not going to click ever. You can't make that work. Because they say, oh, you get money from Washington, you get money from Albany. Where do they get the money from? Right here. It comes out of here. So, at the end of the day, yeah, I feel bad for these guys. They're starving to death in some remote location of the world, but that's where they were born. I was born here. Nobody asked me, can you bring in these pudding heads? They're going to steal from you. They're going to take your retirement. They're going to get whatever benefit that you don't get. Nobody asked me. And now I'm stating what my opinion is. No, I don't want these people coming in. If they want to come in legally, the way that I did it with my buddy, 7 years later, yeah, do that. We have law for that. We have a provision for that. So, I don't really have anything else to say, and I will leave it there. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Peter. Hey, how are we doing? I've changed a number of things I was going to say. My name is Peter Fiotti. I'm from Mayapack. Lived there about, oh God, I'm old, 40 years, maybe 50. And essentially, I've heard a lot of discussion here, and I'm going to sidestep the idea of immigration and whatnot, because I'm one of those people that's neither happy with the mistreatment of those who came here legally and the lack of enforcement for those who did not come here legally, as well as the homeless. Because that's really not the issue at hand here in this body. Really, the issue is whether or not we can extend the public's money. This is not some collective pool that we have any right to spend out of. The public's money for social causes that they don't necessarily endorse. Not just social causes, but the deliberate attempt for local and foreign municipalities to export the problems that they've created in their own jurisdictions to other people while they go out and they give some sort of, I don't know, political shaming and holier-than-thou attitude. They invited these people into their communities, and when they got stuck with the bill, they want to export that. And this is not some boogeyman nobody knows anything about, because this practice of exporting these people has gone on for at least 40 years. And we have local evidence to exactly that. In the 90s, Westchester did the same thing. They exported the people that they could no longer or would no longer harbor or afford at their expense initially, but our expense, to many of our local hotels, which prompted both the hotels in Mahopac and Yorktown to either close up, because ultimately they created the only known crime zones in the county to that date. And what they would do is they would simply house these people here long enough to get them off their own books. That established residency, and they passed their financial burden off onto our towns and counties. This is not just debatable, it's actually happened. It was official policy of these municipalities long before this question ever came up. And this is what we're dealing with. Any nonsense front where we got 10,000 people who are, dyed-in-the-wool racist or evil or nasty to our fellow man is just nonsense. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't think you get 4 people on either side of this argument to actually come out and say, even in private, that they had really any opinion other than they may respect the people who are leaving and coming here simply out of the idea that they could better their life. And I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. But I'll finish up in about 2 seconds. Our question here is whether we're going to allow these municipalities to take advantage of our citizens and spend our money so that they continue to parade their own, superior morals in front of the rest of the country while they effectively make everybody else the bill holder of their own stupidity.
Thank you.
My name is James Adams, I'm resident of Phillipston. I would like to offer a personal anecdote, a history lesson, and something that I hope everyone will think about. So the first is that we are a nation of immigrants. Some of us came here in staterooms, some in steerage, some in chains, but we are a nation of immigrants. That has not stopped this country from having a shameful history of bigotry against the poorest among us. In fact, many grew up hearing about signs, no Irish need apply, stories in Boston, no Jews or dogs. He referenced the story about the immigrants being turned away from Nazi Germany. We had a Chinese Exclusion Act. We had the Japanese interned in World War II. But one of the more interesting things is how the perception of race and ethnicity has changed in this country. 130 years ago, very few people considered Italians to be white. And the greatest lynching, the greatest mass lynching in American history was 11 Italians who were stolen out of jail and lynched in New Orleans. The reason we have, because of lies that were told about their criminality, their eligibility to be Americans, their ability to contribute to society. The reason we have a Columbus Day holiday, which was declared by Benjamin Harrison in 1892, was in recognition of the unfairness of that act. Things have changed, our understanding has changed. I have family from Venezuela. That country is in total collapse. We should only be so lucky as to get the asylum seekers who are fleeing Venezuela right now. My late brother-in-law was an immigration attorney. Met many people that he was helping seek asylum. Contrary to what I heard, the fact is that asylum seekers who are given an asylum date and apply for a work permit are eligible to work after 4 months. That takes 130 days. They contribute to the economy. We should only be so lucky as to find the people who've managed the wherewithal to get here. So that's my personal anecdote. But even more, what I would like to just offer is this thought. I was born in 1956. Last year, there were 700,000 fewer births in this country than there were in 1956. As we retire and get older, I'm now in Social Security and Medicare. The population that's going to support us who are living longer and older has to be smaller. I go to the doctor, I see people from India and the Philippines and the Dominican Republic, and that's what's keeping us going. If we don't have a much greater rate of immigration than we have now, there are going to be fewer and fewer people to support the older and older people. We simply have to come up with a way to get more people in this country. And no study has shown that immigrants are less productive or more criminal than native born. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Elise Ann. I'm a Carmel resident. Since we started off with Chicken Little, I'd like to end off with another poem. It's called The Snake. On her way to work one morning down the path alongside the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with dew. Oh well, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in. For heaven's sakes, take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a coverture of silk. And then she laid him by the fire with some honey and some milk. Now she hurried home from work that night. As soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in for heaven's sakes. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the snake. Now she clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you might have died. Now she stroked the pretty skin and then kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying thanks, the snake gave her a bite. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in, oh heaven's sake, take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you bit me. Why? You know your bite was poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Any other public comment?
I can add one more line?
No, sir. No, sir. We're not going to go through a second time. Seeing no other public comment, I'm going to go to recognition of legislators. Any legislators wishing to speak tonight? Legislator Crowley.
I just want to thank, there was a retirement from the Sheriff's Office, and I just wanted to congratulate Tommy Lee on his 22.5 years. He started off in the jail and moved into the Sheriff's Office, and I think it's something that we should be proud that we had to serve us, and I wanted to just thank him for his years of service, so thank you.
Anyone else? Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight from both sides. It's good to see democracy at work, and we should have this more often. Also, Putnam County has an abundance of natural bodies of water for all of us to take advantage of. I would like to urge everyone to take advantage of our waters, because we have a lot of great lakes here, and when you're doing it, please ensure that you're safe and the summer is a safe summer for you. Also, I hope everyone enjoyed their summer. And,
Anyone else? I'll finish it with just a thank you to our sheriff and for his men and women for keeping order tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who came out tonight, and have a great night. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody.